Amazing. So, welcome everyone who is watching. This is another episode of the Into the Underworld podcast. And today we are going to be talking about the dark truths of drugs and alcohol. Yeah, we're going dark and we're going deep today. And we're not going to hold back either. This is a safe space for us to share our experiences and speak our truths from a grounded place where we have already addressed these traumas and we're working through them. So it's a free space for us to share and speak our voices in the hope that we may inspire and support others along the way. So I'm Chloe from Mystic Hearts, and I have my beautiful guest Reena from of Pineal Gland Powers. I thought I was going to stumble on my words then when I said pineal gland powers. Reena and I have known each other for a very long time. We are old school friends and
Yeah,
now sisters. We've had a very interesting and colourful relationship and growth journey, which is like weaved in and out of each other's lives, which we'll go into more. But before we dive deep, Reena, would you like to introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, whatever you feel like sharing?
absolutely. Thank you so much, Chloe, for inviting me on here. My name's Reena. I am 38 and I'm from Birmingham. And yeah, as Chloe mentioned earlier, I've known Chloe for quite some time. We actually met each other through going out raving and getting on the sesh, where obviously there was a lot of alcohol and drugs involved. And, you know, we disconnected, as you do sometimes, and you go your own separate ways. And then all of a sudden we reconnected again because we were on quite similar paths and healing journeys. And it's just been so beautiful to witness each other go through, our healing journey. And obviously we work with plant medicines as well. And the plant alloys have brought us together too, which has just been, yeah, such a beautiful experience.
Oh, thank you, Reena. And do you want to share like what you do now or just anything like where you're at in your life? It's obvious
Yes.
looking at you that you're glowing. So tell us why. What are your secrets?
What are my secrets? Okay, so I'm plant-based. I've been plant-based for about 9 years. And I have been sober for it will be 5 years in November. It will be my sobriety anniversary. Um, and for work, I'm currently a welfare officer in a very well-known venue here in Birmingham. And I do a bit of other freelance work as well, like admin work and stuff like that. Yeah.
Thank you. So you've gone from being the one needing the welfare to the one now looking after all of those people who are yet to go on their healing journey, right? And
Yeah.
we've come to that place now, you and I know we connect on this, where we can look from a place of non-judgment and actually from a place of compassion. And one of the reasons why Reena and I really wanted to have this conversation today is just to support and remind ourselves and anyone who receives this video of the importance of these things. Like, these conversations seem to have trends and then they can die away a little bit, but it's like we need to keep bringing this up and keep supporting and keep having these fresh conversations and reminders so that we don't forget about empowering ourselves and bringing our power back to ourselves. So, so you've shared where you are now. And I'll give a little bit of a backstory about where I was at, where Reena and I first met, which was in Ibiza. I went there for 2 weeks and I don't think I slept.
It was for Sunbeats.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think I slept for 2 weeks. I might have had like one day where I slept for 12 hours and then just like got on it again. Like, it was in the thick of serious like class A drug addiction, constantly like drinking, chasing the next party and the next rave. Like, that was my life. I don't even know how I had money at the time. It was just like making it through to the next weekend, the next event, the next holiday, the next gathering where we could all just go for as long as we possibly could. So
Mm.
a pretty serious journey. And I know you were in a similar situation, Reena. So if you want to share a little bit about your history and then maybe the journey to that first point where you were like, oh shit, maybe I need to make some changes in my life. What was that awakening point?
Yeah, so yeah, I'll get to that point in a minute. But yeah, it's funny because when you were just saying about the first time we met in Ibiza, I had flashbacks of us in space when we was at space. Because I remember I managed to get guest list because Sonny Fodera was playing, and he's a good friend of mine because he used to live in Birmingham. And like it was such an awesome night. We were all on such a happy high. We had all just got to Ibiza, and yeah, the first thing we did was like get a bag each and like just get on the sesh. Um, and that's what it was all about, isn't it? We were just constantly chasing the rave, chasing the highs. But then in the week, it was very different because we had to really sit with ourselves and be in this, dark mess with our own thoughts. But yes, same as you, I'd be just going out raving every weekend. I also worked at the hospital at the time. I was there for about 10 years, throughout my 20s. I was doing security work. I was working within the hospitality industry as well, doing like guest list and artist liaison work. So, even though I was working, I was partying pretty hard as well. So I was never really giving myself a break.
Yeah.
Um, but there was quite a few situations that happened before my spiritual awakening that I had. There were quite dangerous situations I'd put myself in, and the common denominating factor was that, I was on drugs and alcohol. Um, After I had my spiritual awakening, I was a lot more mindful of the drinking, but I was still getting myself into quite precarious situations. And that's when I started to feel like, okay, like I need to try and like control the drinking rather than the drinking and the drugs controlling me, which was definitely the case now looking back. I had no control of it. I couldn't just go out for one drink or one line because it would just, yeah, you get where I'm going with this. It would just get out of control. I'd end up at after parties and like not coming home till Sunday night, sometimes even Monday morning, and having to phone in sick at work or not even phoning in sick at all because I was so scared of what the reaction was going to be because it was becoming a regular occurrence. I was scared I was going to lose my job and everything. Um, so yeah, now moving on to the pivotal point where I decided, sobriety, like I have to go sober now. So my friend decided to exit this physical realm, sadly, in 2020 during, I think it was the first or the second lockdown. And at the time, my mental health was a shit tip. I was thinking about taking my own life, and I prayed. I prayed to God, and I was like, please just give me a sign or an opportunity or something because, I really don't want to be here anymore. But um like I don't want to leave either, if that makes sense. And then I basically connected with a girl that was holding plant medicine ceremonies. And yeah, I went for a plant medicine ceremony. I done Changa, and I yeah, it showed me what's on the other side, and it was so beautiful. And I felt unconditional love that I've never felt in this realm before, other than with my fur babies. And it was, yeah, it made me realize that, suicide wasn't an option anymore. I'd never consider it. Um, and then it was my friend's wake. That was the last time I got on the sesh, and I was at the wake, and yeah, I heard this voice say to me that, yeah, this is the last time you're doing this. Yeah, this is the last time you're going to be doing this and be surrounding yourself around these people. And in that moment, I just made that conscious decision that that was it, and I stuck to it. Um, and that's not to say that there weren't a few blips after that. There was two blips. One was at Maid Festival, and another one was when I seen you. I think it was Breaking Science Festival or something like that. It's down towards London ways. Yeah, those were the only two blips that I had. Um, it was just alcohol though. I didn't take any recreational drugs. Um, and then yeah, that's my story.
Yeah, that was a blip for me too. Thank you so much for sharing your vulnerability and just opening up about that. That takes bravery. So thank you.
Thank you. I was trying as best as I possibly can to condense it without too much detail.
Yeah. No, you shared beautifully, and you opened yourself up. So thank you. And there's so many little gems I can take from that. And I think, first of all, like for anyone that's watching this, I would say, and I feel like Marina and I have the relationship where I can say this, but she and I are quite extreme situations of like taking drugs and alcohol as a means of escaping our own mental health issues. We were quite pretty extreme, like we were like typical English lifestyle to the extremes, but I do want to point out and nod to the fact that alcohol and drug addiction is present in such a more undertoned and insidious way that can just be creeping into that bottle of wine on a Friday night, to celebrate that you've got through another week and to drown the sorrows, right? It is
Mm.
nodding to that as well, that it is all, if it is that intention, what is it hiding and what is the reason for it? Because when we will, I want to later on talk a little bit more about drugs and alcohol and get a bit sciencey with it, but
Mhm.
if we, I think as an individual, like if we are really, really honest with ourselves, we know that drugs and alcohol are not serving us in any way, right? And that's a difficult truth to come to terms with. Like even one
Mm.
beer, one glass of wine, like it's not serving us in any way. Um, but yeah, thank you for sharing that about the wake and about that realization journey. I had a similar situation. For me, it was when I was living in Indonesia. I had, well, ironically, I had moved there because when I had my spiritual awakening, I realized that I had a huge cocaine problem. So I was like, if I move to the other side of the world, I won't be able to do coke. Unfortunately, I had access to other drugs there, so it kind of helped, but also it didn't help. So the filling that empty void continued there. So that was like the first cycle. And then the second cycle was I suddenly realized that I had this amazing job. I was living in paradise and I was getting depressed and I was pushing everyone around me away, isolating myself. And just like you said, Reena, like I wrote down a list of all of the situations in my life that brought me shame, really terrifying situations that I've been in, which I take responsibility for because of the use of drugs and alcohol. Wrote down, I think it was 11 pages, and every single situation was under the influence of drugs or alcohol. And that was just like this
Mm.
massive, massive light bulb going off. And I was like, in order to change my life, this has got to stop.
Mm,
That was the big turning point for me. And then similarly to you, after that, I had to come back to England because of the lockdowns. And I got really depressed as well because
mm,
you and I, like we've been on this spiritual path for a long time. We were fully aware of the truth of the situation, right?
mm,
Me, I felt like a black sheep and my voice was getting trodden on and stampled on. Even some of my closest friends at the time weren't connecting with me in the understanding of the depth of like the dark forces at that time.
mm,
That made me feel like, well, what's the fucking point? You know, who have I got here? And being sober and sobriety helped me to get through that because it just kept my energy on this solid ground. So I
mm,
was a lot less affected by what was going on. I've worked out like how good I felt in myself and how aware of my own inner landscape I felt from being sober. So yeah, I'm with you on that. And then a couple of blips since then where I did take cocaine again. And honestly, I got the worst anxiety of my entire life for 2 weeks solid, where I actually was like, I couldn't leave the house. And then that was it for me. That was like the never again. And I've been around people doing coke in front of me, offering it to me. And I've literally been like, I couldn't think of anything worse.
mm.
And that's the changing point when you're like, nah.
Yeah, it's quite liberating when you get to that point, because that's like the point of no return. Then you know you're not going to go back to it.
Yeah, for sure. Um, and there's been times on and off for me with alcohol where I've got to the point where I was like, oh, I can enjoy a glass of wine from time to time. But interestingly, and we can talk about this a bit more, but since I've been doing the quantum work and working with the energy fields, now even after a sip of alcohol, I can feel my protective shield dropping. Oh,
Mm,
gone. So it's literally like opening ourselves up to any entity or being that wants to enter into us. That's what we're doing because it lowers our vibrational frequency, which
yeah, and
could be useful if we go too high and we need to be grounded. But that's the only reason, that's the only way I can think of it.
yeah, it literally weakens your energy field and your aura. Like I mentioned earlier, I work in the hospitality industry, so I'm around people that are on drugs and drink alcohol all the time. And what I find fascinating every weekend is that how, I see these people come in sober, and then once they've had a few drinks and had a few lines, their energy shifts. And when when there are certain altercations in the venue, when I look into their eyes, I just see demons. It's actually quite scary sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have to make sure that, my energetic protection is on point before and after I finish a shift. But yeah, it can be quite scary seeing that happen to people.
Yeah. And it's one of the messages I got when we were in Peru. Reena and I travelled to Peru together last year to sit with Grandmother Aya and other amazing plant medicines. One of the messages that I got when I was being replayed a situation that happened to me when I was under the influence of drugs, but it was showing me that when we were in the raving scene and we were taking the drugs and we were listening to that kind of music and even some of the MCs and things that they would say, it was like this dark spell had been cast. And it was because of the drugs and the alcohol, it created this like dark bubble. We think of like our golden angel wings or golden protective light around us now, like a golden aura, but then it was this black aura. I think of it as like a spider web, like a dark web that we,
Demonic energy. That's
yeah.
what it is. It's
Mhm.
demonic energy.
Yeah. Maybe we should talk about that a little bit more because people are probably watching this and being like, what the hell are you talking about?
I mean, it's in some of the crew names.
Yeah,
Say no more,
exactly. Exactly.
you know.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. And it feeds off, the drugs and alcohol. Like, I actually see cocaine now as a demon. Like, when I think about it, I think of cocaine as a demon. Like, and
Mm,
also something about that drug, when you think about the journey that it's been through to actually be that
mm,
powder, the amount of people, women who've been kidnapped, probably tortured, slave labored, people been held at gunpoint, people mass murdered. Like
Mm.
that, and then you're sniffing that straight into your pineal gland. Yeah. And
Yeah, it like when you really deep it like that,
yeah,
like it's yeah, it's raw and it's savage, and so many people get hurt in that process, and then you're absorbing that energy into your sacred body temple. Like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's horrible to even think about now, isn't it?
it really is. And it's like the addictions, it's like the feeding off that, those lower energies are feeding off that when it's inside our body. And I know, I can speak for myself. I feel like I'm still healing from those times of my life.
Mm,
Situations keep coming up and keep healing. It's a long, long process. And we're not having this conversation to make anyone feel bad, but like if I could have one prayer, it would be for young people to never have to go through some of the situations that I put myself through. And of
mm,
course, I didn't know at the time. I was a very, very shy, like before pre-teens, I was so shy, so quiet, and then drugs and alcohol gave me this like false sense of identity, which is sad, but it's the truth of it. And I think just bringing this to light and really bringing like the as dark as we can go about the truth of drugs and alcohol, so that people can really realize that, sisters, mothers, brothers, daughters, uncles, friends, like if there's someone we can support and help them to realize that they are love and not fear. And when they feed on that fear and go into the fear, that's when the darkness comes.
mm. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I also feel that a lot of it stems from self-awareness and self-love as well. I didn't love myself back then when I was doing all of this to myself. It was an act of self-sabotage.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I was worthy of looking after myself. I'd gone through a lot of trauma even before I was drinking and doing drugs. And I suffered terribly with my mental health as well. I had quite a catalogue of, going to the doctors and being put on medication and you know, yeah, I mean, the alcohol and the drugs was definitely a way to to numb myself from everything. Yeah, and to forget about the shitty work week that I've had at the hospital, or if I've had an argument with my mum or my dad, like, oh fuck this, I'm going out and getting on it all week. It was just like my way of dealing with things or life, because I didn't know any other way how to deal with my life and my feelings and my thoughts, you know? Yeah.
And wouldn't you say it made everything worse?
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
because when I woke up Monday morning or Tuesday morning in the absolute horrors, I hated my life even more.
Yeah, it nearly broke me and my mum's relationship, like to a point of being no return, right?
Mm.
It almost got there, but thank God she kept holding on, holding on to hope for me. My mum. I've
Oh,
never apologized since, of course.
I know,
But
but look at you now. Like, she gets the chance to witness you as a reformed woman now, and that must be so beautiful for her to observe, And luckily, before my mum passed, um, she's seen me sober for 2 years before she passed. And just for the record, for anyone that's watching, my mum actually passed due to alcohol abuse. So, since mum passed away, I haven't touched a drop of alcohol, and I never will. Yeah, there's been no blips, no blips since then.
and that's just such a beautiful like prayer and promise to your mom as well. Like that's just such an honoring, an honoring of her life. You're just like, I'm gonna be this best version of me. So yeah, give yourself a pat on the back for that. Yeah, it's amazing. Oh, something is falling in here. Yeah, so where do I want to go with this? I feel like there's so much truth that I want to talk about. I do want to move on to plant medicines. So maybe we'll move on there and then it will bring things back that we want to weave in. Because for me, plant medicines, without them, I probably wouldn't actually be here today. Like I can say that with certainty. Plant medicines. And when I say this, I'm talking about a whole spectrum of plant medicines. For me personally, the biggest ally of my life has been mushrooms, like working with mushrooms. They've been probably just because I've been working with them for the longest,
Mm,
have given me the most sense of empowerment and inner strength, and actually understanding how my mind works and realizing that it's actually separate from me, but also that I'm the one in the driver's seat. And that
mhm,
for anyone who suffers with depression, anxiety, PTSD, that is a huge thing to realize. And that's like a little key to start going on that journey. But plant medicines, they are the opposite to drugs, right? And they get lumped in this same category. They're illegal, and yet they are blessings gifted to us from Mother Earth to help us return to our state of love. And whereas I see it, I see as drugs as the opposite of that. They are the way to Satan or the dark forces, the opposite of love, fear, hatred, divide, ruin. So it's just interesting as well for people to really think about that, right? I'm always like,
mm.
look what's legal, alcohol. One drug that literally can possess your spirit. Like, I couldn't even count on two hands the amount of times that I've blacked out on alcohol. Blacked
Mm.
out and woken up and been like, what the fuck? Like, where is my bag? Where am I? Where's my shoe? And that is terrifying. That is terrifying. So, why on earth is that legal? We know the answers. I think we know why, but I like to empower people, to really think about that, like actually sit with that. Why is something so dangerous and so soul destroying, family destroying, health destroying legal? Right? And not only legal, but it is encouraged as a social, societal activity, encouraged and celebrated, right? And yeah,
Yeah.
anyone who's watching, please like sit and think about that with yourself. And the beautiful thing as well about plant medicines is that when you work with them in a ceremonial way, you have someone holding you and guiding you. And like
Mm,
you just don't get that with Coke because it's just not a part of it, right? There is no healing intention behind it. But with the
mm,
plants, when you work with the plants, you're actually held and supported and taken on a journey through it. So it's just a completely different thing. And something what I really want to highlight is like drugs, plants. And in
mm.
the drugs category, all pharmaceutical medicine goes in there. And we're
Yeah.
separating the plants.
Yeah, so what I class as drugs is like basically anything synthetic, like you said, anything that's made by big pharma or anything synthetic. And then the plant medicines are, medicines that have been used traditionally by tribes all over the world. Indigenous tribes have been using these for centuries. And yeah, they're just incredible. And like yourself, I probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the plant medicines. The first ever plant medicine journey that I had was Changa, actually. Um, and it was probably one of my most favorite medicine journeys. Obviously Aya's definitely up there, but for my first ceremony, it was just everything I could have wished for and more, because it proved to me and it showed me, you know, other realms of existence. Because before that, it was just speculation, right? How can I believe something that I haven't seen or where I haven't been, right? Um, so yeah, that was an absolute game changer for me. And yeah, Yeah, it opened up a can of worms to what else was out there too, because since then, like, the expansion has just been endless. Well, it's limitless, isn't it? So yeah, it's been truly amazing.
I love that you said that because, and just the beautiful reflection of younger Reena to this amazing now Reena, is, and the same with me, like reflecting it in my own self, is we would use drugs and alcohol to escape. And I actually believe that somewhere on a soul level, we were seeking God, we were seeking a realm beyond this 3D reality, right? And we just weren't getting that with the chemicals because they actually do the opposite. They take us down, not in a good way, like not in a
Mm,
grounding way. They take us down into the dark. And like you said, when you open yourself up to the plants, you actually get an experience beyond this humanness, and you, it just reminds you like how magical life is, and it gives us a first-hand experience, because I think that's what a lot of depression and anxiety is. It's like we feel stuck, right? And it's almost like we want to believe in something, and probably our soul has these memories of
hmm.
other lifetimes and other experiences, but we've forgotten it, and we feel so stuck and so caged in this body. And in the 3D, and the plants have this magical way of just blasting away those walls that we've put
Hmm.
on our third eyes and around our hearts and in other places that society's put on us, our family, whatever it may be. It just blasts that open in a safe way when you're treating them with respect, and when you go
Mm.
to someone. I've had mushroom journeys in the past that absolutely kicked my ass, but what I look back on them now is they work, because what a lot of the plants do is they're mirrors. They're mirrors. They're showing you like this is what's going on in your mind. So when I look back on it now, because from the learning and the journey, the times when I completely freaked out of what someone may call a bad trip or whatever, now that I realize it, and I did come to realize it through many journeys, is that it was just mirroring the freaking madness of my mind and
Mm.
that like anxiety loop and fear in my mind. So it was through like my yoga journey and slowing down and learning breathing and becoming grounded and all of those more embodied practices that go alongside medicine and alongside healing, so that when you do them, you're like, oh, it's okay. This is just my mind. My mind's having a moment. It's not me. And again, it's like that separation that you spoke about. It's the separation, but also the oneness where we can come out of ourselves and expand in a really magical way. And I,
Abs-
yeah, I think I haven't spoken about plant medicines as much as I used to. I used to speak about mushrooms all the time. Recently, I've felt really called to talk more about plant medicines and the in just magically intense power that they can have to support people who are suffering from mental health issues.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chloe. Yeah, I mean, let's, I mean, my personal opinion is, alcohol and drugs are there to calcify your pineal gland, to, they repress your consciousness. And that's why alcohol in particular is legal, because they want everybody with a calcified pineal gland. They want everybody docile. They want everybody going out every weekend and drinking fuckloads of alcohol, feeling like shit. It's because they're repeating the same cycle over and over again. The alcohol and the drugs is controlling them. They're not in control of the alcohol and drugs. And, I see it all the time. Um, but yeah, I mean, when you look at the plant medicines, from my own personal experience and hearing others, that helps you decalcify your pineal gland, and your consciousness just opens like a lotus flower. It's just the most beautiful experience, and it's just so soul nourishing. It's really hard to put a lot of these ceremonies into words a lot of the time, because you cannot explain these journeys in third dimensional human language. They just, yeah, they're just too profound to even put into words. But at the same time, if this is something that someone is open and willing to partake in, look for a trusted, recommended shaman or healer or guide, mentor. If you are interested in doing something like this, reach out to myself or Chloe, because we have, a lot of trusted healers and mentors and shamans that we can point you in the right direction to. But yeah, it's just been the most life-changing thing for me.
Amen to that, sister. I can see it in your face, everyone that's watching this can see the glow, right? And it's
The
like
Cambo glow.
the Cambo glow.
The
And yeah,
Cambo glow.
and like if you're watching this and you want recommendations, we can recommend people not only in the UK. We can I know that we're connected to people who can connect us to people probably in most places of the world. I have people in Indonesia as well and on the other side of the world. So yeah, if you're watching this and you're like, oh, you girls are from England, it's okay. We can we can still
We got you, man. We got you.
yeah, and we would both love to support anyone who is on a sobriety journey or even just sobriety curious. Like, we'd love to support you in any way that we can. Thank you for sharing that. Before I just switch the conversation a little bit, I just wanted to add in like about the pharmaceutical drugs versus the plants. And this goes way, way, way back when I was like, how old was I? Maybe 17 or something, 17, 18. I was taking drugs at the time. But I had an accident at work where I fell down the stairs and I broke like a part of my back and I
Oh
couldn't
my God.
walk. And they put me on codeine, Valium, an anti-inflammatory, and something else. And I got addicted to codeine and Valium. Like, I actually got
Wow.
addicted to the point where I was pretending that I was in pain. I think it was like 6 or 7 months to get prescriptions, completely addicted. And then I would have like vomits and stuff because it completely ruined my stomach. And now I'm like, wow, I could have just got really pure cannabis oil. And it probably would have been better and it would have supported the healing. And it's like having that wisdom and knowing that now, right? Not
Mm.
addictive. In my opinion, in my experience, high quality organic cannabis and cannabis oil is not addictive. It can be the other
Yeah.
tampering and other chemicals that come with it. That's
Mhm.
up for discussion, up for debate. I will take that. But yeah, just knowing that, I wish I'd known that. It's just an amazing muscle relaxant and painkiller. Yeah, so I want to talk about the sobriety journey because hopefully there are going to be people that watch this who are sobriety curious, people who are on a sobriety journey, maybe struggling a bit, or people who are sober and just want to hear a little bit more about our journeys and find some support and things. So the sobriety journey, I will just say straight up, is like a roller coaster. It's not an easy ride and it's not a straight road that goes like that.
Like a plant ceremony.
Yeah, yeah. And it's almost like if we think about the stages of grief, I feel like that's like the stages of sobriety, but you can get to one stage and then go like 10 steps back and then have to go
Mm.
again. So I'd love to hear from you, Reena, and you can share as much or as little as you like about the journey, if there's any memorable points, if there's any people, things, books, podcasts, groups, organizations that have supported you along the way, I'd love you to share that as well and just share a little bit about the journey from deciding to be sober to get to where you are now.
So, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's definitely been one hell of a roller coaster. It's been, I'm just going to keep it real. It's been quite isolating, especially in the beginning as well, because it was throughout the lockdowns and, post-COVID. and then going back to work and being around it, it was very, very difficult to be around at first, and there was temptation there. Um, but I mean, I didn't really have much of a community, or many sober friends around me. So I pretty much just isolated. But I needed to do that. I needed to be in my own energy, and I had to cut a lot of people off because I didn't want to be around it anymore. I'd made the decision I want to be sober, and so for me to be sober meant that I had to lock certain people off, and stop going out with them, stop go they'd invite me to certain gatherings, but I chose not to go because I knew there was going to be drink and drugs involved, and I just didn't want to put myself in that situation, or feel pressured, or um made to feel like, I don't know. Do you know, like, when sometimes when you're the only sober person there, people can like belittle your journey? And I didn't want to be made to feel like that, so I just avoid it at all costs. But I was on a very deep self-love journey. So I was quite happy, spending time on my own, watching documentaries and stuff at home, listening to music, reading books. I've got so many books. So I love to read, and cracking on with my spiritual practice. That's another thing that's actually saved my life, like I practice Qigong every morning or every other morning. It's such a beautiful practice because it's not too strenuous on your body, but you're still moving your body and you're moving the energy centers and meridians. Um, and meditation, yeah, that's where I've really tapped into my higher self, and that, I guess, that's what's kept me on this path. But it has been difficult. I'd be lying if I sat here and said that it wasn't. But this is a path that I've chose because it's my path, it's my truth, and I stick to my word. Um, and now I get people coming up to me every weekend without fail at work, saying that I'm such an inspiration. And, it really does humble me that people are watching my journey and they've been watching my story for the past few years, or they're only just started to follow me and they're like, wow, this is really amazing what you're doing, because you're not only working in an environment where it's all around you, but you're sharing it, and it's so powerful when you're sharing your story, right? And it has a ripple effect. I've got a few friends like yourself that I used to go raves with now, and they drop me messages on Instagram saying, Reena, I've been sober for like 2 3 years now. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And they're like, yeah, it's because I seen your stories, like you going out with your green juice and your coconut water. And I'm like, yeah, it's amazing because you're just so present in the moment, and you're not chasing a high. You're just getting high off the music, you know? Um, so yeah.
Oh, that was so beautiful. And I can like just feel and see your passion and your excitement and like the journey you've got to. And thank you for sharing that because it was so beautiful. Like that journey of isolating and actually having to disconnect from a lot of people in your life, which was very similar to me. Whereas now, because you've done the healing and you're so grounded in this version of you, you're actually able to go out and be in those situations. But beyond that, you're actually serving a greater good because you're
Mm,
having this beautiful healing ripple effect on those people around you. And that's amazing. And I think that's a really beautiful takeaway for anyone who watches this. Like, it's not just you, right? It's not just us that we are putting first when we go on this sobriety journey. It's actually rippling out into
mm,
everyone around us. Like, imagine what our friendships and families and relationship would be like if we could be so present with them all the time and attentive and empathetic, but in a way where we're not going to get triggered because we're not hanging or we're like waiting to go out. I mean, it's so beautiful to think as sobriety as a service to not only ourselves and the highest versions of ourselves, but also to a service to the highest versions of
Mm.
humanity.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I can be the best possible version of myself for the people that I look after now. I can be the best possible daughter for my dad. I can be the best possible sister to my brother as well. Like if he needs me, he knows he can t talk to me, and it's I'm a safe space for people, and they know that whenever they come to me that there's absolutely no judgment.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think that you're strong, like you're a soldier to go through this journey on your own. I mean, in 2020, there probably wasn't that much choice anyway, right? We were kind of all forced to isolate, and I know I went deep on my spiritual journey then, and I also really started diving deep into the medicines then.
Mm.
But I would say, reflecting back on my own journey, because I haven't been quite as strict as you have, even though I'm back on that path now, something that would have really supported me would have been a sober community or
Mm.
hold me accountable. And I kind of wish I joined AA, but there's other communities, and we're lucky now where we are in humanity. Like there's so many sober events, and I remember going to a Rise and Shine party and being like, oh my God, I actually enjoy dancing more sober than I do when I'm on anything. And that was really liberating. But I would say that I think having community, it would make the that sobriety journey land a bit more softly, because it can be
Mm.
a real emotional roller coaster as well, because suddenly we're faced with this clarity of mind that connects us to our body, and of course all of our traumas and memories are stored in our body, so
Mhm.
we suddenly get reflected back to us these memories and these patterns that are like, hello, you've been drowning me out for all these years. And it's a lot. It's intense. It is intense, but it's beautiful because, like you said, it does get easier and you do start feeling amazing when you're sober and like sitting at a dinner. What I find interesting now is like going out for dinner and being the sober person and just watching people drink and how the conversation just declines and how like the egos just start battling each other. It's almost like
Mm.
the heart drops out of the conversation and the ego just comes in. So it's really interesting as well on the sobriety journey to just be a lot more aware of people and situations, not only yourself but people around you. So it can make you a better human because you become
Mm.
more aware, more bodily aware of people. I'm just trying to think if I've got anything that really helped me. I read a book called Alcohol Explained, and that just like shocked me to the core. It was written by a scientist, and he literally wrote, but in like a not a scientific way, in a way that's easy to understand, like what alcohol actually is, like what it is. It's ethanol, so it's a poison. It's actually used to like poison people. And what it does to the body, what it does to the brain, short term, long term, how it dehydrates the body, like all of those things. And I was like, holy shit.
Mm. Yeah, it's linked to multiple cancers, it shrinks your brain, it ages you. There's so many things that alcohol does. It destroys your gut microbiome, which, makes you compromises your immune system. It just affects every part of your body.
Yeah. So I know that you mentioned your spiritual practices and your qigong practice, and we've
Mm.
mentioned plant medicines and community. Would there be anything else that you could suggest for people watching today that could support them on their sobriety journey, or anything that you've read or listened to that you can think of that would help, or even like foods that you eat that can support you on this journey, anything like that?
I highly recommend I mean, smoothies are a big thing for me. I literally live on smoothies. Especially if you're transitioning to going sober, because they really help to hydrate your body. Remember, alcohol dehydrates your body. So smoothies, coconut water, things like that. Fruits as well, they're very hydrating. You want to be consuming things that are giving you life, right? And increasing your vitality. Um, so yeah, I highly recommend those things. But yeah, just listen to your body. Listen to what your body needs. Just because I'm plant-based doesn't mean that everyone else can go plant-based. Because everyone's different, right? And also I just want to add on as well. I forgot to add on when you asked about if I'm a part of any communities. I
Mhm.
actually recently joined as a brand ambassador for Higher Self, the movement. And like I've been yearning community for such a long time. I'm sure we've been on previous calls together where I've said to you that, I'm in Birmingham. Like I'm so far away from you and some of our other friends that are in the healing community, and like I just feel so lonely. So I connected with a friend of mine, and he has this really amazing movement. We go on hikes and things like that. So yeah, I've recently joined them, and it just feels like I've got a family now. And yeah, I think like community, like you said, is very important. Um, but it doesn't have to be in-person community. There are Facebook groups and things like that, and forums online that people can join and connect with people who are on this path too. So yeah, don't ever feel like you're alone, because you're not. There are people out there that are here to open you with loving arms.
Yeah. Oh, that's so
Yeah.
cool. And I think you kind of just hinted at it there, but we've missed out something really important that can help support us on the sobriety journey is nature. Getting your
Mm,
ass out into nature. Like, if
yeah.
it wasn't for nature and living near a park during 2020, another thing like that, and working with the plants, but plants and nature, same thing, right? That
Hmm.
was my life support. Nature. It really helps you get out of your head and just be around the plants. Beautiful ally. It's free. It will help to oxygenate your lungs as you're healing. So it will give you that high because you're going to be like, oh, I feel fresh, right? The opposite to hangovers, the opposite to when we're taking drugs. So yeah, getting out in nature.
Yeah, go and hug some trees, get your feet on the grass. Oh, it's the best feeling ever. Like absorb all of those negative ions.
It's a huge help. So, before we wrap up, and this has been amazing, thank you. I can't believe how quickly
I
that
know,
has
I just looked
gone.
at the time and I'm like, no way, it's
It's
never been an
mental.
hour already.
I know. And anyone who's watching this, if there's anything that Reena and I spoke about that you would like us to go deeper into, please let us know because this is such a huge topic of conversation. And we've both shared quite a big part of our stories publicly before. So we are happy to have conversations about certain things. So, yeah, we'd love to know if there's anything that you want to hear more about or anything that we can support with. And just I'll let you give a last message in a minute, Reena, but I just want to say, like, anyone who's watching this, like, wherever you're at, if you're still drinking, if you're still taking drugs, like, we love you, we support you, but we want you to know that you are like a divinely magical, loving being. And if you can give yourself the gift of stopping consuming these chemicals, you are going to see life in a completely different way. And also, like, it's not just you, like that darkness and that heaviness that you feel, it's not just you. There are forces in this world, whether you want to believe it or not, there are forces that are working against you. So the more that you can clean your being and be this like bright vessel of light, the more that you're going to stay in that state, right? And the more that life will become Not easy, but more manageable. And you're going to find your people like Reena. She's finally found this beautiful community. I've connected to some amazing people over the last few years after losing the majority of my friendship group through my sobriety journey. But yeah, you've got this no matter where you are on your journey. If you're on a sobriety journey and you keep falling off the tracks, like I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, I see you, I feel you. Keep going, keep going. Maybe seek out a plant medicine facilitator who can hold you, because plant medicines for me have been the key of breaking free of addiction patterns.
Oh, Chloe, thank you so much. I honestly don't, I feel like we definitely need to do a part two.
Me too.
Because yeah, I still feel like there's a lot more to talk about. But thank you so, so much for inviting me on for this podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure to share this space with you and talk about some really important things about alcohol and drugs. So yeah, to be continued.
Be continued. And thank you so much for joining as well and coming up here and speaking your truth and being so vulnerable, but also so kind and loving and sharing and everything that you said. In when we share this in the comments will be all of your social links and like the best way to contact you. But what is your preferred way for people to contact you or just to like connect with you?
Yeah, so you can connect with me at Tiny Old Gland Powers on Instagram, and alternatively, I do have a Facebook page, Reena DTA Patroller. So you can contact me on either of those. Also, I do have a private Instagram account, which is Renkers DTA. So yeah, if you want to connect, please do add me up.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And Beltane blessings as well. We are
Beltane blessings,
at the
sis.
midpoint between spring and summer, and it feels like summer here in the UK. So happy times, so many blessings. Love you so much. Have the most
Love
beautiful
you too,
day.
sis.
See you soon.
Enjoy your day. Bye.